G'day, Michael Osborne through the Open Dawe, our second guest. How are you doing today, man?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Jimmy. Great to be on board.
Thank you.
Have a chat with you.
Yeah, it's been a very popular announcement when I announced Osborne was coming on, so I'm sure the guests will enjoy this one.
Beautiful.
So you got 168 games and 110 goals, AFL Premiership, two VFL flags. You've represented Australian international rules. You must be pretty happy with that run sheet.
Yeah, it was a good time at Hawthorn there over 13 years of my career. A few ups and downs with injuries and selection, and in the end, yeah, pretty happy with the way things panned out, and pretty fortunate to be part of such a great club in a great era as well.
Yeah, it would have been absolutely amazing. And we've seen you you went through 3 drafts and went through a bit in your career, so you must be pretty proud of yourself and all that.
Yeah, like I said, there's a few ups and downs, and early on in my career there through the rookie list and eventually getting onto the senior list was a bit of hard work, but it all paid off. And then, after injury, knee reconstruction in 2012, had a bit of a list juggle there, and ended up playing another year there with Hawthorn.
Yeah, perfect. So the journey started all the way back in '01, and you grew up in Queensland, and played for Labrador, I think it was.
Yeah. So was born in Victoria, but the family moved up just after I was born to live on the Gold Coast and get a bit more sun.
Yeah,
And so it was, my parents' influence and their experience growing up in Victoria that got me into footy up there.
Yeah. And I actually read, I think it was Nick Rewalt's book not long ago, and you got a nice mention for, I think you won a medal in a under-18s tournament. You got a wrap up for him. Yeah.
So I grew up fierce rivals with Broadbeach and Southport, who Nick played with, and we had some great battles throughout the years of our junior careers.
Yeah, so all I've heard from the book is pretty much you're a better junior footballer than Nick. That's what we'll take from that, yeah.
No, he was pretty handy. Broadbeach. We had some great battles, Labrador Broadbeach back in the day, and Nick was just lucky, I think, to put on a bit of weight once he turned 18.
Yeah, it definitely helped. And then, so leading up to the draft being 17, 18, how was that? Were you nervous, or was there a bit of talk with clubs leading into that draft?
I was a little bit nervous. I injured my shoulder in my top year of under 18s, and missed half the season, so I didn't play any footy for the year until the championships. And so getting out there playing for the state, I was just underdone, out of form, and didn't have a very good carnival. After having a pretty good carnival in the under 16s, where I won the medal there for the carnival. So that sort of caught the eye of a few clubs, and John Turnbull, who was the recruiter at Hawthorn at the time that I started out my career. So I had a pretty poor under 18 championship, and spoke to a few clubs leading up to the draft and at the draft camp, and most of them spoke about my thoughts on moving into state for a rookie list position. So it was obvious there was a few clubs interested in picking me up as a rookie, but at that stage, it sounded like I was going to miss out on the draft.
So obviously leading into it, you kind of had wind that it would be later. So when the national draft came and went, obviously disappointment there of missing out, but you kind of thought your best hope would be as a rookie.
Yeah, so I missed out on the draft, and back then, I'm not sure whether it was something to do with the Olympics at the time, but there was about a 3-month period in between the draft and the national draft and the rookie draft. So, whereas I think the subsequent years, it might have only been a week or a day. So it was all a little bit easier for list management and for players to get to clubs and knuckle down and start fitting in and training with their new teammates. So, after the draft, got offered a few spots to train with over the summer, and between Carlton, Hawthorn, and Brisbane, and I'd already been playing up in the Senior State League in Queensland that plays against the Brisbane Reserves. So I was playing against those guys, and my state coach at the time said, you've been playing against these guys in the competition. You should go down, try for a rookie list spot in Victoria, and play in the VFL. It's going to be a higher standard of competition. So I had an auntie that worked just up Glenferrie Road.
Oh, good.
And moved down and stayed with her for a few months and trained over the summer with Hawthorn, and then eventually got rookie listed there.
Yeah, that's good, and earned your way on. And I was going to ask how it would have been, obviously at 18 and moving away from home, but having an auntie not far away would have been helpful, and staying with her.
Very helpful. Bit daunting as a young kid moving away from home, but I wanted to play footy and enjoyed the challenge, and it was tough. I think the culture back then was a bit from the senior players was a bit of like, keep your mouth shut and earn your spot, and we're not going to help you. And so you sort of didn't have anyone leading the way and pulling you along. And it was good when Clarko came in 2005. The culture really changed, and it was all about bringing the guys up to help the whole team through, and I think Clarko did that really well, and you could see in the success they've had over the past 10 or 15 years that they've had some good depth and guys being able to come through and fill positions when they needed to. Yeah,
so it would have been terrifying, especially you might have watched Hawthorn play, and then all these blokes are your teammates, but you're not getting much from them. Was it a bit obviously daunting as a kid? You're trying to play footy, but these blokes are kind of like, this is our turf, and stay in your lane.
Yeah, a little bit. We used to have the match play, and there's a few aggro and tough players there at Hawthorn at the time, and if you lined up on them, they definitely didn't want you there. They didn't want you taking their spots, and it created a very competitive environment, which I enjoyed anyway. I was used to competing with my older brother growing up. Very rarely winning. So I sort of relished that sort of competitive side of it, and stuck through it. And I think that was, you try and look at turning negatives into positives and how you can use them to your favour. So that was one thing, looking at the positive side of it, that you're getting some real fierce competition in your training, and that helped out a bit, I think, looking at it that way in your mind and your attitude towards your training. Not that they don't want you there, but it's a challenge, and if you can stick with them, then you learn that respect, and they'll welcome you into the team, and that's sort of what happened.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and we're about spreading positivity and the way to look at things in life. So the way you attack that and thought of it in a positive way and went, oh, it's a challenge here, I'm all for it. So that was really good. And end of 2001, you got to make your debut. Do you remember much of that day?
Yeah, so it was probably, I think it was round 21. It was so two games after the season, we went over to Adelaide, and there was another rookie, Rob Campbell, who also played with in the 08 grand final, and we both went over. They'd named 21, and they had us both travelling as, one of us was going to play, and the other was going to be emergency. So I think the night before, they still hadn't picked the team, and it was a bit wet overnight. So the meeting in the morning, because it was a bit wet, they went with me being smaller.
Perfect.
Instead of Robbie the ruckman. And yeah, we went out and I think we won the toss, and there was a 12-goal wind blowing, and we chose to kick into it.
Oh, he's done a cotton early.
Yeah, I think the plan was to lock it down while the heats in the game at the start, and limit the advantage of the wind, and then back ourselves being fitter and come out in the second quarter and take advantage ourselves. But I think the way it played out is Adelaide kicked 6 goals in the first quarter, and then the wind stopped, and I think we ended up losing by about 50 points. So,
and they were the days where you were pretty much on the bench until someone got dragged. So did you get much game time? I know you kicked the snag on debut, which is a nice little win.
Yeah, exactly. It was you spend most of the night warming up. I don't think I came on till after half time. Had a bit of a run around and got a few touches, and I think maybe in the third quarter got a kick from a free kick on the boundary, and went back and slotted it. It was great memory. Can remember it well.
That would have been nice. And did you have time to fly the family over, or was it watch on
No,
TV?
I think with that it was no one knew who was playing. So I played the following week back in Melbourne on the MCG against St Kilda, and the family came down for that. So that was good.
Perfect. And so your first 2 years, you just managed the 3 games, and then did you get delisted after those 2?
Yeah, so part of the rules is interstate rookies get 2 years with their first contract. So I had the 2 years, played 2 games in the first season and played 1 in the second. We also won the premiership for Box Hill in 01. So there's a few guys there from that team that went on to play in 08.
Yep.
Mark Williams and Rob Campbell. Sam Mitchell as well was there playing for Box Hill. So at the end of the second year, I had a few sort of niggling injuries, nothing sort of major. And Hawthorn was still interested. I think John Turnbull was a big fan, and he was telling them to stick with me and give me another chance. But I think just per the rules, they have to delist you, let you go through the draft, and they can pick you up again. So that's what happened. Didn't really get any interest from other clubs. Stuck on for the pre-season with Hawthorn, and they picked me up again as a rookie for a third year. And I think early on in the season, one of the senior players broke his leg, was out for the season, so he went on the long-term injury list. And I think I came in round 2. Got elevated to the senior list and played 19 games that season. But similar thing. We were playing Port Adelaide, and sat on the bench for about a quarter and a half. In that time, Sean Burgoyne had run a few rings around a couple of the guys, and we'd flipped some of our defenders onto him, trying to stop him. He'd kicked about 5 goals before half time, and I'm sitting on the bench as a forward. You sort of have a back, a forward, and maybe a mid and a tall on the bench. And Swabby rang me up. He's like, "Oh, mate, you want to go play down back?" And I was just happy to get on the field. I was like, "Yeah, mate, whatever you need." And he goes, "Right, are you going on to Sean Burgoyne?" Just had to think about it for a couple of seconds, and I was like, "Right, well, this could make or break me." I think Sean had put the cue in the rack by that stage. He didn't do too much after that. Actually, he took a mark about 15 seconds after I got onto the ground. So, and about 15 metres out, I managed to put him off working the mark, and he kicked a point. But I think by that stage he put the cue in the rack, and I ended up playing pretty well for the rest of the game, and was put in the back pocket for the next 2 or 3 years.
Oh yeah, so the door, obviously started as a forward, but the door opened and turned into backman, and there you went. You towed Sean Burgoyne, and there we go.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like he's gone on to do anything much since, has he?
No, and if he has, I think it was that day that changed got him going. That flicked the switch in him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been exciting. You were regular in the side from that time on, from 04 into the years, and then it was 06. You only played a few games. Was that injury problems?
Yeah, so I had a bit of osteitis pubis, as a lot of players did back then, and there wasn't really much knowledge about it, or a cure, or a real confident program that would bring players back from it. There's a couple of options of there's a couple of different surgeries that were pretty invasive. There was some cancer treatment that was meant to help the bones regrow around there. But yeah, in 06, I broke my foot early on in the season. Had a couple of operations on that, but by the time we sort of got that right, it was the end of the year. So I missed most of the year with that. And I think I, through rehab over the summer, was back ready for round one in 2007.
Yeah, perfect. And we skipped ahead a little bit, but you mentioned earlier when Clarko came in and that culture change. How impressive was that, especially for you? You would have been, 3-4 years into your career. Was that a nice change in the place?
Yeah, well, I remember when Schwabby got the sack towards the end of the year. It was pretty. It was a pretty big thing, like being a young player, not really knowing what it's like in the inner sanctum of a club in the AFL, and the media pressure at the time on the club and the coach and the players. It rocked us a bit, and Schwabby had such a good rapport with all the players, and we loved him as a coach, and we backed him and trusted him, and Clarko came in and sort of shook things up a bit, but he laid a pretty good roadmap out on the table that it showed what he wanted to achieve, how we were going to do it, and showed every step along the way. And just seeing that, the presentation that he gave, and it put a lot of confidence into the players. He had heaps of stats and research to back it up, why he was doing what we were going to do, and everything was just so well thought out and mapped out. And I like to think I'm pretty organised as well, so it clicked well with me. His ability to organise everything and have everything structured, made it really simple to understand. There's a few home truths there about just our standards of training and expectations. Obviously, he came over from Port Adelaide, who'd just won a grand final, and I suppose him having those sort of credentials to back up what he was doing, everyone stood to attention and backed him in, and just let him take the reins from there. And we pretty much did as we were told, and it seemed to work.
Yeah, it would have been very nice. And he sounds like obviously he knows what he's up to if he's been in it 15 years and still going strong. And then did your role change with him, or was he happy as you as a backman? And
yeah, he. I remember one day he come and jumped in the spar with me during recovery, and he's just asking why am I playing in the back pocket when some of my time trials for the long distance stuff were, right up there in the top 5 or 6, and it'd been a few years of just managing those injuries and osteitis, and with the osteitis, I was struggling to run out games during the season just with the pain of it, and we had a few different treatments, but nothing seemed to completely get rid of it. So so we got stuck into sorting that out, and went and saw a few different therapists and spoke to a few different guys that had been through it, and just to learn their experience from what they'd done. Some had surgery and didn't recommend it. Some did recommend it.
Yeah.
So it sort of made that decision hard, but we eventually found something that worked for me, and that became part of my routine and sort of changed the way I looked at preparation for footy and professionalism, and got my body right. And Clarko's plan was to sort of play the high half forward role that you hear about so much these days, and sort of play as extra midfielders, but having the capacity and the tank to get back forward and even out the numbers. So, he sort of had that role penciled in there for the likes of me and Chance Bateman and Tim Clark, Richie Vanderberg, those guys that could run and get up and play through the midfield and get back forward. So that sort of all changed from there, that little spar session with Clarko.
So, it's good to, he gets around the boys and jumps in and, he gets to be one of you, which is nice to hear. And half forwards are underrated, especially for all Australian, but won't go into that. But you have to have a pretty big tank and kick goals and tackle, and so it would be pretty tough.
Yeah, well, I think after 08 with the press, and then, most of the teams picking it up over the next couple of years and implementing themselves, it sort of, it changed the way maybe teams drafted and selected players, and you saw teams trying to get more mobile ruckmen to keep up with the pace of the game, and I think that's always going to happen. Players and teams and coaches are going to find loopholes and work within the system and within the rules to gain an advantage. And you've seen the game change so much a few times over the last decade. It's hard to imagine where it's going to be in another 10 years.
Yeah, and so Clarkson comes through the door. You get some pretty decent footballers. I was saying Buddy, Ruff, Louis, Hodge, list goes on. Could the good times be seen pretty closely, and is that pretty exciting time, especially heading into 07?
Yeah, I think we finished 15th. First year Clarko was there, and some of the things we're doing, whether we weren't implementing them or carrying them out correctly, or whether we just weren't doing them good enough or often enough. Sometimes it was hard. We're still getting spanking every now and then, and obviously losing a lot more than you're winning is always hard. But I think there was a glimmer of hope there. We could see little wins, and Clarko was very good at focusing our attention on what was working and how it was going to work in the future for us. And in those early years when Lewis, Roughhead and Franklin were there, they played a lot of games early on, and I think by 08 they'd all played over 50 games and had that experience and confidence, and Clarko definitely set us up for success in that respect. So I suppose blooding those young guys early and giving them the experience, it may have meant we lost a few games earlier on, but it set us up in the years to come. Yeah,
well, so 07's where it kind of all clicked, and you got to play some final in 07. You got to go to, I think it was Telstra Dome, maybe Eddie had then.
Yeah.
Big final. Yeah. Finally get to play
big
some
final there
success
against Adelaide.
You didn't kick the ball to Buddy?
Got up there towards the end of the game, and I think if you look back at the replay, we probably carried on like we'd won a grand final after that. Going from a couple of years and not winning a lot of footy to 2007, playing and winning a final there, we got a bit excited, and I think it was still a success. Yeah, I think we were still riding the wave a week later when we come up against North Melbourne. That absolutely smashed us.
I was there.
And that was of course you were.
Sorry, mate. Decent night for me.
That was a good time to reflect. After that game, we'd realised what we'd done, and that we had to keep our focus until the very last game of the year, and We were very, very regimented. I remember we had some good wins in the final series in 08, and no matter how well anyone played, sort of we come off the ground and no one was really that cheerful. I mean, we're happy we were one, but we were all, as soon as the siren went, we're focusing on the next week, and the guys' ability to be able to do that was pretty impressive, and set us up well for that grand final in 08.
Yeah, so 07, as tough as it was losing that final, it was a real big stepping stone in this is what we have to do. And obviously you get finals experience into everyone on the list. It would have really helped coming into 08 and that year. Was that a big year with that drive behind you? Everyone's more experienced and that culture's still building?
Yeah, I think, big learning curve, that game against North Melbourne, and the guys to just stay focused for the whole year and have their eyes on the prize throughout the final series was really good. And I mean, you have to fail sometimes to learn what you need to do to succeed, and that was one of those big moments.
Yeah, so I'll claim North is a big reason for Hawthorn's era. I'll just claim.
Yeah.
And then 08, the big dance. We'll move on to that, and that would have been an exciting week and something. Did Clarko really keep you focused on the task, especially coming up against Geelong, who were a dominant team, or did he let you embrace the week and enjoy, big crowds and grand final parade?
Yeah, well, we had Stewie Dew get on board that year, and one of the reasons that Clarko did that was because of his finals experience. He played a lot of finals, and I think one thing from Clarko was he took a bit of a back seat, and let the guys like Dewey speak to the boys and tell us what to expect and what to do. We also had our strength and conditioning coach, Peter Burge, who'd been to the Olympics for long jump. So he just shared his experience with leading into big days and big nights and the distractions that are there. And I think one of the two big messages that came out of it was to ignore all the noise in the background, like all the people ringing up to, whether it's get tickets or wish you luck. Everyone wants to get around you, and it can end up being a big distraction and burn up a lot of energy. So sort of just turn your phone off and do what you need to do to prepare. So that was a really good piece of advice. And the other one was to enjoy it and soak it in, get down to the grand final parade, take it all in, all the atmosphere and the supporters and the novelty of it. And same thing grand final day, when you get out there on the ground, have a look around and enjoy what's happening around you.
Yeah, I think you speak to all Hawthorn fans, and from all the four flags of the last decade and a bit, 08's always their favourite. Is that just for being underdogs and beating such a big team in Geelong, did you have a big belief and really think if we just stick to our structures, we've got them? Yeah,
well, I think we might have played them. We definitely played them two times that year and lost by under a kick each time, and probably the year before as well, pretty similar. Looking back and reviewing those games, there was a kick here or there, or a position here or there that we knew that if we got those things right, we'd be able to get on top of them. So there was a big belief that we weren't that far off Geelong. That had a great couple of years, obviously winning the premiership the year before. But I think Clarko had a great ability, and the staff there working under Clarko, all the coaches and support staff, of just keeping us focused on what we can control. Knowing that we'd done all the work, we'd done all the preparation, and to have belief in ourselves to to do what was needed to be done. And that's what we did. We focused on us, and we were prepared for it, and everything seemed to click on that day.
Yeah, it was good, and we've watched it. I think we watched it once, and you could tell us everything that's about to happen. And you had a pretty good day, 26 touches. I think you got sent to Gaz and showed him a thing or two, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think Chance Bateman was tagging him.
Yeah.
And went off to get some stitches, and I got moved on to Gaz in the last quarter, where, yeah, it still felt like the game was pretty tight. It wasn't until he'd lining up at a centre bounce, and I was right up Gaz's clacker, and he just said, "Oh, listen, mate, give us a bit of room. You guys have won it. Give me a bit of room. Let me get a kick here." And turned around to look at the clock, and there's about 10 minutes left, and although I think we're up by about 20 points, it was still like, you can't let an opposition like Geelong give him an inch. So it was still nerve-wracking right down to the final minutes, and it was a great day to get over the line.
Yeah, it would have been amazing from that moment. The siren went to, I don't know how long you kicked on for, but it would have been an absolutely amazing time to be around that club.
Yeah, it was great. The euphoria of it after that final siren, and the having the crowd there, and all the teammates and staff out on the field, just to top off a wonderful season. It's an amazing feeling, and sort of hard to describe, but it's so amazing, and so glad I could be a part of it.
Yeah, well deserved. You had a really good year that year. I think 5th in the BNF, and played your role and had a good grand final day. That make 2009, is it tough to back up after flag to go again?
Yeah, well, the year seemed to be tough. We missed finals in 2009. I think maybe, we thought we could just roll out what we did again, but I think a lot of the teams had studied us hard over the off season, and worked a lot of it out, and put things in place to counter what we were doing. So that sort of surprised us, and a lot of teams got on top of us, and I think from then on in, Clark, I really worked hard on staying ahead of the curve and anticipating what was coming and what we needed to do to stay on top.
Yeah. So it was really just keeping ahead of it, and then training and doing your culture, and everything will kind of not take care of itself. But if you just keep going ahead, you just know what it takes to be successful. So it was just a case of that, really.
Yeah, and just keeping your eye on what the trends of the game are, and what the opposition are doing, and just always looking for that 1% improvement, or whether it's personnel or a tactic, or attack or defence, whatever it may be, but just not being complacent, and always looking to stay ahead of the opposition.
Yeah, and you got back into the finals 2010 or 2011 with the prelim against Collingwood.
Yeah, got back in there, and they got us just in the last quarter there. So a few more finals appearances, and then 2012, another grand final against Sydney. Missed out that year, had knee reconstruction, losing that grand final was sort of like the North game in the finals in 2007. Like, there's a lot of things we look back at, and we just knew if we get them right, we'd be able to go on and have a crack at a few more grand finals.
Yeah. Get back to that ACL. How difficult is it, knowing you've done it, and then knowing there's my year done? How do you kind of get yourself up and go, all right, I need to attack rehab, even though football's more than likely not going to be there for the year?
Yeah, I'm always sort of pretty optimistic and focused on what I can control. So it was sort of weird. didn't really know I'd done it because I had actually had a bit of pain in my ankle when it happened. So I thought I'd rolled my ankle somehow, and it wasn't until we got down into the rooms and the doctor had a look at it and shook his head and said, "No, it's not looking good." So there's probably a few expletives there in the moment, but from then on in, it's sort of just focusing on rehab. So can't do much until you get to the hospital and get some scans and work out what's going on. And we had a great team, great medical team at Hawthorn. So you get your rehab program and you focus on that. I think if you focus on what you can't do and all the negative things, that sort of negative mindset leaches into your head and your body. And if you're focusing on those things, you can't do what you need to do properly to get back playing, or whatever it is you're focusing on doing. Yeah. So the main thing for me was just finding out what needed to be done, what the rehab was, and just ticking all the boxes and put that X in the calendar in 10 or 12 months, whatever it was, and aiming to be ready by then.
Yeah, they're really good words for everyone listening, that obviously you controlled what you could control and attacked it with a positive mindset, which is really nice. And you just want, this is what I have to do, this. Was there anything in particular you did if you were feeling a bit stressed or flat that there wasn't any footy, or were you just really focused on just rehab and getting that knee right? And I'm sure, as you said, you had a really good team around you, so it would have been helpful.
Yeah, well, in Jared Ruffhead's book that he's released recently, he spoke about his challenges with being diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah,
and
really good read too.
Having the footy club there as home base, and I think that's one thing that keeps you going, is being part of such a great club. When you are there, there's always positive words of affirmation around you, and the support from the players, the staff, the coaches, the administration. It's all there. So you never leave the club at the end of the day feeling bad about yourself. So the more time you can spend there, I think that helps and keeps you in a positive frame of mind. And then with such a long rehab process with a injury like a ACL. I did my lateral ligament as well. So tore my lateral and my ACL. One thing with a long rehabilitation program is sort of plan out some little wins throughout the time in rehab. So whether it's when you can walk on it, when you can run on it, when you can lift some weights, whatever it is, have a few milestones in there and celebrate them with your family or your teammates or your rehab staff as well. That sort of keeps you going and gives you something to aim for, rather than thinking about it being a 12-month process. You sort of just take it, a week or two at a time and hit those targets, and makes it a little bit easier. Yeah,
that would. Good man. And you got through that, but then the club, did you have an exit meeting and they asked for you to be delisted, and then you had to go through another draft?
Yeah, interesting. I had another sit down with Clarko. He come jumped in the spa with me again.
He loves a good spa sesh, Clarko.
He does. And yeah, it was an interesting conversation. It was when the free agency and the trade period was all sort of coming into the AFL, and I think one of the things was with the list management, you had to have a list finalised before a certain date, and then there was a free agency period and trade period, and then the draft. And we were in a position where we had a full list, and Clarko was looking at getting Jonathan Simpkin from Geelong to top up our midfield, but we didn't have a spot on the list. So he came up with the idea of delisting me, creating a spot through the trade period where they could get Joffa and then pick me up in the draft the week after. So, Clarko and Hawthorn said that, they wanted me there for 2013, and it was a bit of a tactical move. So, yeah, we got delisted, went through the draft. We picked up Jonathan Simpkin, who went on and played in the 2013 premiership. And they picked me up again in the draft there for another season. And me and Joffa also played in the 2013 premiership for Box Hill.
Yeah, so a very selfless move on your behalf and to help the club go forward. But you weren't nervous at all. You pretty much knew you're going to be a Hawthorn man next year, so it was all smooth sailing kind of from your end.
Yeah, it was all pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered with the handshake with Clarko there. So I trusted him and the club, and ended up being a good result.
Yeah, that's good. And then moving into 2013, you played a few games, but you were playing in the VFL side most of it. Was that tough on you, or was that, again, focus on what I can do and you're helping the young kids come through, like your Brad Hills and so on?
Yeah, I think looking back on the year, I would have liked to have thought that I was good enough to play in the 22 for the whole year. I played half a dozen games there at the start of the season, and for one reason or another, played out the remainder of the season in the VFL. And I think maybe it sort of paved the way for the younger guys coming through. Paul Piopolo, Luke Bruce, played really good seasons, and competing with guys like that go on and play 3 premierships is what I was up against. And I trained and mentored those guys through the forward line as well, so I'd like to think I sort of helped them play such good seasons and play in premiership sides. Maybe to a disservice for me, and that's sort of where things had changed since I started at the club. There was no one really helping you along, getting you to improve your game, so that you have a better career. But that's what Clarko and his leadership instilled in the players, was to advance the development of the guys coming through, so that we could be a better team and a better club. And although very, very disappointing not getting the opportunity to play in another premiership, I was really proud of the guys being able to play and win in their first premiership, and watch their progress throughout the year, and also play a good season with Box Hill, and a strong final series in a premiership with some of the guys that went on to play premierships with Hawthorn in the years after that as well. Yeah.
So it would have been tough, especially you've seen footballers now as well. They're in the 22 for so long, and then the back end of the career, whether it be injuries or so on, kind of get pushed out. So was that tough for you, or was it you're happy with the role of developing, as you said, Poppy, Bruce, and then this is just football, and you'll just enjoy having a kick in the VFL, and you still want a flag, so probably something you're pretty proud of there as well.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. Like I said, I thought I was good enough to be playing in the team, and I think if we hadn't won in 08, it would have made it a lot tougher. But for every player that's won a premiership, there's 100 that haven't, and for everyone that's won 2, there's someone that's won 1. Brad Sewell got to play in 2, and I'm sure he's pretty shattered that he missed out on a 3rd. But there's always someone that's worse off than you. And I think my focus once again was just what I could control. And if it's playing VFL, there's no point being angry or taking your focus off what you need to do. So for me, it was just still go back and play good footy. There's an opportunity there to play in a VFL flag and beat Geelong once again, which was good. And yeah, I think if you do focus on the negatives, then things are a lot higher chance of not going your way. I could have maybe missed out on playing in VFL finals as well, and who knows where I would have finished off. So, just keeping your focus on your own role, how you can contribute to a team and get that team success. And I think the best way to do that's to stay positive, focus on things in your control, and just hook in and play your role for the team.
Good man. And so, end of 2013, you hung up the boots, and it was a while ago, I watched the retirement speech. Was that tough, or were you excited for what's to come, and you would have had coaching in mind for something down the track?
Yeah, it was pretty tough. Like I said, I thought I was still in a position where I could be playing senior footy. The body was still good. But it just, that reality of footy doesn't last forever. And, for some people it's 1 year or 2 years, some it's 10, some like Sean Burgoyne, it's 29. But, you got to have gratitude for what you have, and having a 13-year career in the AFL was, a pretty exciting thing to look back on. So, I'd done all my coaching studies in the last couple of years of playing, and being able to help develop some of the younger guys and on Hawthorn's list as I was playing with them was a really satisfying experience. And like I said, helping Cyril Rioli and Paul Piopolo, Luke Bruce, Ryan Chinemakers, those guys come through and get them on the right track and help them with their footy was extremely rewarding. And so then, I was excited after that to move into a coaching role.
Yeah. So you got a role with the Baggers. How was that? And did you go there with, all right, I learned this at Hawthorn and try and teach them that culture, or was it go Brett Ratton's way and really help him drive his message and then help these kids develop?
Yeah, well, Mick Malthouse was there when I got there.
Oh, Malthouse, there we go.
I'd spent a little time with him in the All-Australian series, and really enjoyed him as a coach for that week, and was excited to get on board. And he's a very experienced coach and has a wealth of knowledge. And so in terms of bringing the Hawthorn way or game style to Carlton, I don't think you can just do that. It's all dependent on list, and good coaches like Clarko and Malthouse create a game plan to suit their list.
Yeah.
And so for me, in my experience, was more about getting these players on par with the expectations of a professional athlete, and spend a lot of time with the 1 to 3 year players and helping set them up and prepare themselves for senior footy.
Yeah, who were some good 1 to 3 year players at Carlton that you helped move forward? And there's some good ones.
There was one kid there, wasn't too bad, showed a bit of promise. Patrick Cripps.
Oh yeah,
was rolling around in there. He spent a lot of time with Chris Judd, which would have been a great help and influence for him. And Cripps has gone on to play some outstanding footy in the last couple of years, but he was always switched on and took everything on board that we sort of set for him. So he was a remarkable young kid. His professionalism and application to his footy was amazing.
Yeah, and we our story crosses paths, thankfully, through the Australian rules fully college, which I dug these out of the wardrobe
Yeah, beautiful.
for. How did that come about, and tell us a bit about what was the concept of that? And you and Brad Sewell helped open up the old college down in North Melbourne.
Yeah, so there was some opportunities through education and tertiary studies to sort of put a program together where the idea was for elite juniors that were coming through and missing out on the draft, or maybe just weren't developed enough and ready to be drafted at the age of 17 or 18. As we know, all players develop differently, and put a program together that sort of simulated the AFL environment and create a professional training and learning environment for kids to come in and just do a bit more than rocking up to training on a Tuesday and Thursday night to try and develop their footy and sort of give them an insight into what AFL players are doing, and try and replicate that as much as we could for these amateur footballers, and then also put them on a path of education and study to set themselves up if footy doesn't work out.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't know, I scraped in, but it was nice that I stopped playing footy, and then I was thinking the road of coaching. So I came along, and thankfully you were all for helping me come in. And even though I wasn't much of a footballer, though we did win some competitions together, you were happy to teach me, and we had some good people in there.
Yeah, it was I suppose a great opportunity that we could be flexible with what we were doing and give you an opportunity to learn about coaching as well, and just working in that team environment for you, and give you a bit of experience and knowledge around what AFL coaches are doing as well, and then also a bit of study to help set you up. And you're obviously got some big plans and bright future ahead, and this podcast you're doing is a great idea, and well done, and you're kicking goals. Good work.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. And my coaching took a big step with your help, and hopefully I passed on some nice Osborne knowledge to the boys down at Lyndhurst. And the podcast is something I'm passionate about, so thank you for coming on. But yeah, that college was really nice, and just that culture you helped us kind of bring together. Like I'd rock up, would get into our S&C and then have a break, but driving that thing of whenever you're here, make the most of it. Don't be a bit lazy. Like a few gym sessions, me and Joel would watch the trots or sneak off a few. And then having that study, so that was really good. And we had some good people there. Hannah with the netball, and Big Gio, the man from St Kilda, and now rugby. It's pretty good list we had going on.
Yeah, well, I think most of the people that were there sort of knew what they wanted, and have, after spending a couple of years there, have taken something from their time at the college and implemented into their life, whether it's work or sport. And like you said, a few of those ex-students have gone on to do some good things. Maddie Balbassis has played a bit of state footy and won some flags, and Hannah's playing some great netball over in WA at the moment. That's the thing. If those individuals can apply themselves and take something away from it, whether it's for their footy or their sport or their career, it's good to be able to have an influence, a positive influence over those individuals as a coach, and that's what coaching's about.
Yeah, thank you. And I loved the concept of going there, 3 days a week, and you got to see your best mates and learn. And I really enjoyed it and got heaps out of it. And those values and everything we went through has helped me start this podcast. I actually thought of the idea in business class at ARFC, which was nice. And we got to use Arden Street Oval, and so that's that culture. Even though it was for a year and a bit, has helped me personally. And speaking to all the guys now, it's still, they take everything out of that college.
Yeah, well, there's it definitely would have opened up some opportunities for the guys and girls that were there, and you know, you got to make the most of them. And you know, it's probably a big decision for some people to come and join the program, at being sort of untested waters. But it just shows the sort of people that were there, that were, you know, looking for that advantage, looking to better themselves as athletes, as people, and it was a great environment to work in.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And we had some good people there from Campbell down from the Country Boy and Big Hank, and our days of gym and then footy and study really broke it up. And yeah, we were touching the footies, you know, 6 times a week, so would have helped them.
Yeah,
that was good, and I enjoyed that. What's it's been happening since? What's life after footy for Michael Osborne?
So life after footy and Carlton and the college, moved to Geelong, and got a couple of boys running around, 2 and 4, and working in the construction industry down here in commercial construction. So bit of time managing the team, so sort of a bit of coaching as well,
which you love,
with what I do. And then getting on the tools and getting the hands dirty, and getting cracking with the buildings. So I studied Cert 4 in construction while I was playing, and always something I've been passionate about and interested in. And with the move to Geelong, and not many opportunities in coaching at an AFL level, it was sort of a decision to make the transition and just dive in the deep end and go from there. And so I've been doing that for the last 3 years, and been loving it.
That's good. And how's the family and you going through coronavirus and all this mayhem? But you're regional, so you're kind of seeing the light now a little bit.
Yeah, it hasn't been as tough as everyone up in Melbourne has had it. But we've been renovating at home, so we've got plenty of stuff to keep us busy on the weekends. I think the hard thing is not being able to visit, you know, family and friends up in Melbourne, or, you know, the parents are sort of stuck at home a bit more than you'd like them to be. So it's a trying time for everyone, and there's a lot of negativity floating around on social media and in the news and stuff at the moment, and probably a good opportunity on your podcast, where it, you know, focuses on the mental health aspects of our lives. And got a good friend. We were having a conversation the other night about it, and I think negativity is so easy to get on board, and it breeds more negativity really easily. And he was just saying, if you take that moment to focus on the positives, reflect and show some gratitude, it could be the difference in that person's life that you're having the conversation with. You probably don't feel that significant, but the influence you can have on that person in that moment, while they're complaining about their job and about the government and about the lockdowns and about the masks, just being able to say, but you know, you've got your family, you know, and you got your health, and whatever it is, and turn it around and focus on the positives. And you know, we're still kicking. You know, we're not completely shut down. We're not in a war. You know, we're still going home to our family. We're going to get through this together. Everyone's going to come out the other side. It's a great way to think about it. And after that conversation, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself as well. And rather than have that draining negativity going through your mind, and then, that's going to influence the next person you talk to as well. So, you never know what someone else is going through, and they after that they could go either way depending on your attitude and your outlook on life.
Yeah.
After that conversation, so that was a big reminder, and just how you can influence others, and the importance of being positive, and can make such a difference in your own life as well.
Yeah, that's a very good message, and thank you for that. And hopefully everyone took note of those, because I'm all about spreading positivity and kindness, and hopefully, the more we do that, it's going to infect everyone in a good way, because negativity is a lot easier. And thank you again for all you've done for me. But before you go, we'll have a few more questions, and thank you for your time again, Oz. I know you're busy with the little ones and your renos.
No worries.
Thank you. We got a fan question from Kyle Dawe, who's actually the second best footballer in the family. So, was there a moment in your career where you thought you made it? Here we go. I've made it as an AFL player now.
I don't know if there was a moment. I think there was always that belief. I mean, rocking up on Hawthorn's doorstep, there's the foot in the door, and the opportunity there. So, one thing we did with the students at the college as well is, you can't just want to be a footballer or an athlete. You have to be that person, and you have to act and behave like an AFL footballer. So, I think even just training, even though, I'm playing reserves every week as an 18-year-old, you sort of, in your mind, you're an AFL footballer, you're at Hawthorn, and you're doing everything the senior guys are doing. And I think there's a little bit of hope that you're going to get a game one day, and that it's going to be a long and illustrious career. And then you do play some regular footy, but you don't get complacent. You're always thinking about playing the next week, and so it probably happens gradually for me over a number of years before you realise, this is how great's this. I rock up to work and I'm playing AFL footy, and this is my job. And but I think that you always have to have that sort of belief and the attitude, or at least the want to do more than is expected of you, and actually behave and perform off the field like an elite footballer, to give yourself the best opportunity to get there.
Yeah. We'll touch on another question that was asked, and you might remember it, of dropping the keys that Eddie had over Steve and Michael Gardner's head. I think you nearly hit your head on the roof.
I think it was King.
Yeah.
It was King, yeah. No, I just remember, I thought there was a bit of space forward and over the back, and you've seen in the past how we love to, get the defenders up and then get out the back into space, running towards goal. And Jordan Lewis got a hold of the footy and looked up, and there was a bit of space ahead of me, and I pointed up, and he's kicked it out, and at that moment, Stephen King's running off the bench, right to where the ball was going, and I remember just thinking, if I don't get higher than him, he's going to probably clean me up here, and I'm not going to come off too well. And I've jumped up. I've ended up right up on his shoulder and got a bit of a boost. And I think where I ended up, I didn't expect to be so high. So the ball ended up coming in at about waist height, not head height, and was probably just surprised myself being up there a bit, because I didn't actually have my eyes on the ball during the contest.
Yeah.
I was just watching Kingy.
Yeah.
I was just watching Kingy, and ended up just turning around and the ball hitting me and slipping out of my fingers. So very, very hard time of my life, that one, Jimmy. Thanks for bringing that up.
Sorry, mate. Sorry to bring up some bad ones, but we'll touch on it. And you absolutely flew. So it's a good little footage. We'll just edit out the little drop of the ball. But who were your top 5 best blokes from Hawthorn. This can range from who would be the first one to shout beers, or if you get in a little scuffle, who's coming 100 metres to jump a punch your opponent.
Top 5, there's so many, but I spent about 6 years sharing a house with Chance Bateman. He was instrumental in my early career in getting me on the right path and starting to live life as a professional athlete and just preparing for footy. So he was great to have around and keep me on track. And we've had some great laughs over the years. Campbell Brown on and off the field. He's a ripper. He's a warrior on the field, and he's an absolute blast off the field.
He would be elite to have a beer with.
Whether it's having a coffee or a beer, no greater person, I think, to spend a bit of time with. Campbell Brown. There's two that stand out. There's so many other great players, but there's two that I've spent a bit of time with.
Yeah, they're good ones, and they would be good to have a beer with, I'm sure. And before we let you go, any advice or words to those that are struggling or in a bit of stress? What do you normally like to tell yourself or do with yourself to keep yourself occupied or in that positive mindset that you are known for?
Yeah, well, one thing that sort of stuck with me through those early years with Clarko and the new fitness and medical staff that he had there was one of the things someone mentioned was you are what you think, and you sort of link that in with whether it's a positive mindset or whatever, but literally, what you think you manifest in your life. So whether that's setting goals or whether it's just having that attitude and, like I spoke about, influencing someone else when they're down and complaining about what's going on in their lives, they can continue to have a shitty time in their life just by concentrating on the negative things. So, what you're thinking manifests in your life. And so just always, a little bit of a mantra, and you say to yourself, you are what you think, and then turning your mindset around from there. I think having a plan really helps, and being involved in something that you're passionate about, whether it's at home, at work, relationships you're having. If you're enjoying those things and they're things that make you happy, you need to continue doing them. If they're things that aren't making you happy, you need to change something, whether it's your job, your workplace, your living situation. Once again, all those things that you have some sort of control over and put you on the right path, and start hitting those goals in that plan that you've set yourself. So I think that's really important, and it can be hard. Sometimes you don't know where you're going, but one other thing, I think no matter what you're going through, I'm sure you can find someone somewhere that has been through what you're going through or something worse, and they've got through it. So if you think about that, there's, find out how they've done it, talk to them, track them down, whether it's overcoming an injury, a breakup, money problems. Someone's been there and done that. And if you can learn from them and find out what they've put in place and adapt that to your situation, I think there's always hope there.
Yeah, that's it. And we like to say, or I like to say that if you speak up and ask someone, that they're happy to help you. And I've got some experiences. So if anyone's struggling, I can talk, or hopefully this is what this podcast is doing. But that's the main thing, just talking and seeing that you can get out of it. And thank you for those kind words, and thank you for coming on the show, Oz. As I like to say, the door's always open for you, mate. And hopefully when everything's done, we can have a little ARFC catch up and have a few beers. So thank you for coming on the show, mate.
No, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on, and I love what you're doing. And once again, if you can influence one person and change their life, you're doing a good thing. So keep it up.
Too easy. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.